Now, for today's schedule, we will be going through a variety of different subjects related to registration and enrollment. So we'll start off with the steps that you need to take after you have applied, which all of you already have, but steps you need to continue to take in order to become fully enrolled as a University of Alberta student. Then we'll move on into just how to understand your degree as a whole and some common university terminology that you might not be familiar with already. We'll then move into the course requirements that you have specifically as a first-year student and a draft or a mock schedule that you might like to reference during your own registration process. Then I'll just quickly share some tips and tricks that may be helpful to you when planning your schedule, and then close off just with some important deadlines to keep in mind and how to contact us in the future if you have any further questions. So let's talk after you apply. So all of you obviously have applied to the University of Alberta, and I'm assuming that if you're here right now, you've probably also been accepted to the University of Alberta. Now, in order for you to continue on with this offer and register in courses, you must officially first accept your offer and pay the related tuition deposit. So you will need to access your Launchpad portal where there will be a section where you can accept your offer. It will ask you to go through a series of questions. You'll confirm which program you're accepting the offer to, and once you've done that, you'll be prompted to pay the tuition deposit. Please keep in mind that it can take up to 3 business days for your tuition deposit payment to be processed before you have functionality in BearTracks, which is the online platform we will be using for course registration and enrollment. So in order to avoid any delays, I would encourage you, if you have not yet already, to pay this tuition deposit as soon as possible, either today or tomorrow, so that enough business days have passed for it to be processed prior to the enrollment opening on April 4th, which is next week. So here on the screen is the main page of BearTracks. Now, at this point, you're definitely all familiar with Launchpad, which is the portal that we use for anything application related when it comes to the U of A. But you'll now mostly be switching over to using BearTracks, which is the portal used for everything U of A student related. This is where you'll come in the future to view your final grades, to pay your tuition in the future, and also where you can manage your classes. And this is the format that we'll be using for today. So as you can see in the screenshot, the top left tile is titled Manage Classes, and this is where everything we'll be talking about today will be found. In this section, you have all of these different functionalities such as class searching and enrolling, browsing the course catalog, adding classes to your shopping cart, looking at your enrollment dates, adding classes to your watch list, and then also dropping and swapping classes. So let's move into understanding your degree. So like I said in the beginning, this portion of the presentation, we're just going to be introduced to some common university knowledge and terminology that you might not already be familiar with just because you're coming from high school. That should help you to understand how your degree is laid out in the Bachelor of Commerce program so that you're more prepared in the future. So the first thing I want to talk about is our credit system. So university courses are assigned credit hours, which are typically denoted with a star or an asterisk. So as a BCom student, the majority of the time, if not for the entirety of your degree, you will only be exposed to 3 credit courses or half-year courses. And these are courses that run for only 1 term. Now, depending on what electives you choose to take, in a very rare case, you might be exposed to a full year course, which would be 6 credits, and that would then run for 2 terms consecutively. Now, speaking of terms, there are 4 different terms that you should be aware of throughout an entire academic year here at the University of Alberta. So the 2 main ones, or the typical academic year that we usually refer to, is the fall and winter terms or semesters. Now the fall term runs from September to December, so it's 4 months, and in this term you can take a maximum of 5 courses. Now given that each course is probably 3 credits, this would be a maximum of 15 credits that you can enroll in. Now same goes for the winter term or the winter semester. This also runs for 4 months from January to April. You have the same maximum maximum of 5 courses or 15 credits. Now, there are 2 other terms at the University of Alberta, and these are the spring and summer terms. Now, these terms are condensed. They're only 6 weeks long, whereas your regular fall and winter terms are 11 weeks long, and the maximum is much lower. You can only take 2 courses per term for spring and summer. Now, at this point, you don't need to worry about spring and summer courses. As an incoming student, you can't take spring or summer courses this year in a couple of months. So this would only really be relevant to you a year from now if you wanted to do some coursework outside of the regular academic year. Now, moving on to specifically the Faculty of Business. Within our faculty, there are 4 specific types of courses that we will be looking at. So I've listed them all here on the screen, but the ones that I have highlighted again are relevant to you as a year 1 BCom student. So the first type of course is the foundational requirements, and this is what the primary focus of your first year will be. We'll go through what all of these courses are on the next slide, but these are essentially courses that help build your foundation so that you can carry that knowledge into your business courses in second year. Within your first year, you will also take electives outside of business, which is the second category of course that I've highlighted on the screen. You'll take these throughout your entire degree, so that does also include your first year. And these are literally any class that is not business related. So any class that's offered by another faculty here at the U of A, it's quite common for students to typically select courses offered by the Faculty of Arts or the Faculty of Science for their electives, but I'll show you how you can browse through these courses at a later point in the presentation. So beyond these 2 types of courses, again, for your future knowledge, the other 4 types of courses are primary and secondary core courses, senior business electives, and free electives. Your primary core and secondary core courses are essentially your introduction to everything related to business. You'll basically take 1 course in every single major that is offered throughout these 2 core sections, and that'll expose you to all of those different areas of business and hopefully help you decide what major you want to choose in the future if you haven't already. And then senior business electives and free electives, those don't really become relevant until later on. But again, the word electives just means you can choose what you want to do. It's not required or prescribed by the faculty. So the Bachelor of Commerce degree is designed to be completed in 4 years. However, you do have some flexibility to extend your degree over a longer period of time if that's what's going to work best for you. If you were to reduce your course load per semester or per year, or if you were wanting to complete the cooperative education or co-op program, this would extend the length of time you spend completing your degree. Now, I just want to outline quickly that depending on the number of courses you take per term or per year will determine what type of student you are, either a full-time student or a part-time student. A full-time student for our faculty can range anywhere from 3 to 5 courses per term, so that would be 9 credits to 15 credits per term. However, the typical enrollment for a BCom student is that full amount of 5 credits or 5 courses or 15 credits per semester. So in order to fulfill that 4-year timeline of the BCom program, this is the sort of breakdown you would be looking at. In each year, you would complete 30 credits, which again, if we know that each course is worth 3 credits, that's 10 classes a year, split down into 5 classes per semester. So hopefully this is just a good visual for you to help understand how your degree is broken down over that period of time. In order to graduate from the Bachelor of Commerce program, you must complete 120 credits exactly, no more, no less, just exactly 120 credits. Now let's move on specifically talking about your first year and the course requirements that you are subjected to as a year 1 student in the BCom program. So like we outlined a few slides ago, in year 1, this is considered or called your foundational year in the program. And so in this first year of the BCom program, you must register in the following classes. So I've listed them here on the screen and we'll go over them quickly. So the first is an English class. This English class is a requirement for not only everyone in the Bachelor of Commerce program, but for the majority of students at the University of Alberta. And it's up to you to choose one of our available 100 level just means first year, English courses, or one of our 100 level writing studies classes. Later on in the slide, I'll show you a list of all of the different options you can pick from. And it's just important that you get into one of those classes and complete it successfully. The second class you'll be required to take is Business 101. This is a Foundations of Business class, and also Interdisciplinary, or Inter-D 101 for short, and this is a leadership class. Beyond that, you'll then take 2 economics classes, 1 microeconomics class, 1 macroeconomics class. Then you'll take 1 math class, specifically calculus, and 1 statistics class. Now, of those 10 courses for you to take in first year, like we just went through, 7 of them are required and prescribed for you. There's no negotiating that. Those are the 7 courses you must take. But the remaining 3 courses are electives outside of business. So again, elective meaning you get to choose what you want to take, and outside of business meaning it has to be offered by another faculty at the University of Alberta. So you could take any course that you are eligible for. You could take biology if you wanted to. You could take history. You could take music. You could take political science. It's totally up to you. Again, it just needs to be offered outside of the Faculty of Business. Now I've put here on a screen like a sample plan for you to reference when creating your schedule. I created this plan for you just so you can see how each semester is broken down, and just so that you can be a little bit strategic in how you plan your enrollment, so that no semester is too much harder than another and it's fairly equally balanced. So something that you can note here on the screen is that I've separated your calculus and your statistics classes, and also separated your 2 economics classes. That way you're just creating a balanced schedule that will allow you to be as successful as possible once you transition into university. And as you can see, I've got 5 classes listed in either column, which would be your 15 credits that is required for you to complete your total of 30 credits for 1 year. Now here on the screen is a draft schedule for you to look at that includes all of these courses we've just talked about. So in first semester, you can see on the screen that I have Econ 101, so that's microeconomics, got calculus, got business 101, and then 2 electives. In this example, I chose a women and gender studies class and also a history class. Then in the winter term or second semester, you can see we've got English, statistics, macroeconomics, and then a calculus class, or sorry, a classics class. If you have a sharp eye, you might notice that there's only 4 courses listed in the winter term, and that's because your required course, Inter-D 101, is actually offered online, and it's asynchronous. So there's no specific time during the week that it will occur, and it won't be held on campus, which is why it doesn't appear in this draft schedule. So just keep that in mind when you're creating your own draft schedule. If you're panicking that you don't see Inter-D 101 on there, that's because, again, it's online and it's asynchronous, so it would not be included in your regular weekly schedule. Now, the other thing I want to point out with these 2 examples here on the screen is that some of the classes you will enroll in will have multiple components. So in first semester, we can see that Biz 101 is one of those courses, and in second semester, we can see that English is the other one of those courses. So when looking at these on the schedule, you can see that one of the boxes, or the scheduled class times, has the letters LEC, and that's short for lecture. And then you can see that the other box has the letters SEM, and that's short for seminar. So university classes will sometimes have a variety of components that you need to complete. When you enroll in these classes and select the time you would like to attend, it will enroll you in both of these components, but it's important to know what the difference is. So your lecture, like all of the classes have a lecture, this is just your typical, you're in a large lecture hall, there's many students, and there's a professor at the front who's lecturing you on a topic at hand. And then the second component of the class that you will come across specifically with these 2 courses in your first year is a seminar. Now, a seminar has a format that you might be more familiar with from high school. You're in a much smaller room, there's way less students, typically less than 30 to 40 students, and you're with a teaching assistant or a graduate student, and this is a time for you to apply the knowledge that you have learned in the lecture and discuss the topic at hand with your fellow peers. So just in case you were confused about what these two different types of course formats were, look out for the difference between a lecture and a seminar and know that both are mandatory. Now moving on, we're going to get to the little tips and tricks section that I've prepared for this presentation. And these are just some things that you can keep in mind when making your schedule. We've mentioned a couple of them already, but I'll review them again just so that you can prepare to have the most successful transition to university and the most balanced schedule for you to become accustomed to. So the first one we'll revisit is the English or the writing studies requirement. So like I said before, almost every student at the University of Alberta is required to take a junior level or a 100 level English or writing studies classes. So these classes tend to fill up very, very quickly. So I urge you to not be too picky as to which one you want to do. It's really just important that you get into one of them regardless. You can choose from any of the 6 courses that I've listed here on the screen. So those courses are English 102, 103, and 125, or Writing Studies, which uses the code WRS 101, 102, or 104. So take a look at these courses, see when they fit into your schedule, find a couple that work, and be prepared to enroll in any of them in case the one you had originally planned to enroll in is already filled up when it comes time for enrollment. But just know that any of these 6 courses will fulfill that requirement that you have as a first-year BCom student. So the second tip I have for you is less a tip, more something that you need to do regardless, and that is to take the economics courses in the right order. So like I said before, there are 2 economics courses that you will need to take. Econ 101 is the Introduction to Microeconomics class, and Econ 102 is the Introduction to Macroeconomics class. Now, Econ 101 is a prerequisite to Econ 102, meaning you will not be permitted to enroll in Econ 102, the second iteration of the course, until you complete the first iteration, which is Econ 101. So please, please, please be sure to enroll in Econ 101 in the fall term so that you can then progress on to Econ 102 in the winter term without any issue. Speaking of the winter term, I will also just note for everyone that's here that on April 4th, you can enroll for both terms at once, both the fall 2023 semester, that would be your first semester here at the university, and winter 2024, which would be your second semester here at the university. So prepare a schedule for both, and on that date, I would strongly encourage you to enroll those schedules for both semesters. And if you want to make changes at a later date because you decide you don't want to be in the early morning class or something else has come up, that's totally fine. Now, the third tip or trick that I have is that we really recommend that our first year students split up those mathematics and statistics required classes by taking one in each term. So they're not directly related to each other. So whether you take statistics in first semester and mathematics calculus in second semester, or the other way around is totally up to you and how it works with your schedule. But by splitting it up, you're ensuring that it doesn't get too math related heavy in your semesters, especially if math is not your strong suit, which it's not for everyone. And also note that if you're struggling with the content of either of these classes, please be sure to check out essentially our Math Help Center. It's called the Decima Robinson Support Center on campus. And this center offers drop-in help, exam study sessions, a pre-calculus program, seminars, primer courses, and you can go there to really just fine-tune and hone in on the skills that you have in these classes, again, so that you can be as successful as possible. Okay, we're nearing the end of the presentation, which means we will have lots of time for questions. So if you need any additional registration help after today, I strongly encourage you to visit our registration website, which is listed here on the screen. It's uab.ca/reg101. On this website, you will find not only a listing of each of the faculties. You can then toggle to the Faculty of Business and access the self-guided module that was created specifically for you, a high school student that's entering university for the first time. In that module, the entirety of the content of this presentation will be there. You can scroll through and read and refamiliarize yourself with the information. You'll be able to see all of the screenshots that I shared with you today. And at a later point in this self-guided module will also be a recording of today's session. So if you would like to see me do this presentation again and just hear what I had to say about all of these things, please feel free to watch that recording. And again, this will be open all summer long, all throughout up until you start in university. So if you need to review it in the future, please go to this website, which is again uab.ca/reg101. Now let's just quickly review some important dates that are coming up for you. The first being April 4th. This is the date that registration opens. You can register any time after this date, but we usually encourage you to get in there on the first day because classes do fill up and we want you to have the schedule that you like. If you would like to live in residence in first year, which we highly recommend specifically for international students, please apply for a spot in residence prior to April 30th, because by doing so before this date, we will be able to guarantee that you will have a dorm room on campus when you get here in August or September. If you have any outstanding documents like your English language proficiency or your final high school transcripts, these need to be submitted by August 1st, and on September 5th is when your fall term classes will begin. Finally, if you need to contact us or me after this session, you can look through any of the websites that I have listed here for advising, the Reg 101 website, and also upcoming events that you might be interested in, or please feel free to send us an email. It's bcominfo@ualberta.ca, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.